Hey guys, wanted to give you guys some healthy baking shortcuts for the holidays. I know that it's easy to say, I'm going to go into these holidays in a healthy fashion. I'm going to make good choices. And then you get hit with one dessert, and that dessert creates a physiological change inside you, and now your brain has suddenly changed and you're ready to take on more sugar and more carbs and more gluten and more dairy than you even wanted to. So I like to try to help people to understand that there's a way that you can take a standard recipe and you can take that recipe and actually just transfer the ingredients into a little bit healthier recipe. So it doesn't mean that you don't have cake. It just means that the cake can be made with something that's a little bit better and doesn't have any poisonous ingredients that will throw off your immune system and just throw off your whole system. So I'm going to give you what I feel like is the healthy baking shortcut guide for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. So we'll probably share this at Christmas time as well. First things first is if I want to make chocolate chip cookies, then I'm going to look at the back of my chocolate chip cookie package and I'm going to start doing some swaps. So I don't just automatically think, oh, I can't make chocolate chip cookies. I'm just going to start making some swaps from those ingredients into healthy ingredients that I know that my family can have and that are gluten-free and that are dairy-free. I unfortunately don't really eat most of this stuff, but they do. And so I try to make healthy swaps. And this is how I created a bakery, was just by making these types of swaps. So if you're reading the ingredients and the ingredients call for butter, you can replace that with coconut oil. So cup for cup, if it calls for a cup of butter, you're going to do a cup of coconut oil. And if something is calling for flour, then we're going to replace that with almond flour cup for cup. Now, if we want to try to keep it on a lower carb, then we want to stick with almond flour because there is a lot more carbs in coconut flour. It's certainly not a bad flour to use, but if you can stay much lower carb if you use the almond flour instead of the coconut flour. So for flour, I would suggest whatever amount the recipe's calling for, that you replace that exact amount with almond flour. Now, here's the real trick, is sugar. When something calls for sugar, you have to be careful to not just jump in and replace it with Swerve. A lot of times they suggest, which is erythritol, which is a corn-based sugar alcohol. And a lot of times sugar alcohols are going to make you crave sugar just as much as sugar. And if it's corn-based, then if you have an immune issue, then you're going to have an immune response from the corn. So I wouldn't do a cup of Swerve instead of a cup of sugar. I would find a way to sweeten it with something that means that you don't have to have coconut sugar, which is still sugar, or some type of artificial sweetener that's chemically based or that is corn based. So an example for sugar, what I normally do is replace it with an equal amount, cup for cup, for egg white protein powder. So I use the brand Mrm for our bakery, and I would do 1 cup of egg white protein powder. I do vanilla for the most part for all of my recipes, but every now and again I'll throw, when I'm making brownies, I'll throw chocolate protein powder, the egg white protein powder, because it actually builds. It's really good. It helps to grow whatever you're baking. But it also sweetens it and makes it feel like you're actually, still getting sugar in there. And then I do still add some extra stevia on top of that. So for sugar, I would do the Mrm vanilla or chocolate egg white protein powder in replacement. If something calls for milk, I would use unsweetened vanilla coconut milk. I use the So Delicious brand or the 365 brand. If something calls for heavy cream, I would use the full fat can of coconut cream, and that's going to be found in the Asian food section of your grocery store. If something calls for syrup and you really want to keep it lower sugar and you don't want to add the honey, you don't want to add the maple syrup, then you could use unsweetened applesauce in the same amount and then go ahead and add some stevia to it. For the Mrm protein powder, you can get that here locally in St. Louis at O'Fallon Nutrition. You can go to o'fallonnutrition.com, or here locally in St. Louis, you should be able to pick that up at either Fresh Time or Whole Foods. But you can also just order Mrm protein, online. So you you could go to something as simple as Amazon or just go to the MRM website. But remember, you're getting egg white protein, not whey protein powder. Now, a couple of quick notes based off of if you've made those exchanges, some beneficial things to know. If you are making muffins or brownies, you would melt the coconut oil. If you are making cookies, then you would cream the coconut oil like a butter. So you would put that in your mixer and you would get that paddle and you would just start creaming that almost like a butter. If you would like to do something with cranberries, but cranberries are rolled in sugar, you could use golden raisins instead. Now, they're still sugary because they're still grapes, and grapes are high in fructose, but they're not rolled in additional sugar. Now, that's not a normal grape, or that's not a brown grape. That's actually a golden raisin, which is going to be different. So you will have to look for that. It is different. There's no sugar involved for that. And then also use almond or cashew butter instead of syrup or instead of figs and dates. When you need things to be sticky or gooey and you maybe want to make like a protein ball or something like that, you could use almond butter or cashew butter instead of syrup or figs and dates, which are high in fructose. Now, you also can when you're looking for almond butter or cashew butter, you want to get a pure version. So you want to make sure there's no bad pro-inflammatory oils in it. So it needs to be free of oil. You also want to make sure that it doesn't have any sugar in it. So it should say almonds and sea salt, or just almonds, or cashews and sea salt, or just cashews. Some of the best ways to do that is just by going to the grinder and just pushing the button and getting pure almond or pure cashew butter. But that's a great way to get something to kind of stick together. And finally, if you want to make your own whipped cream, use the full fat coconut cream, throw it in your mixer with your whisk attachment, and then throw some stevia in there to sweeten it up. You could even throw a little bit of chocolate collagen in there to make it have a little bit of a chocolate taste to it. Now, I always get the question about chocolate chips. Lily's chocolate chips are made with erythritol. That is a corn-based sugar alcohol. Are you sure you want to have that? Just make sure. Cacao nibs are fine, but they do taste a lot like coffee grounds. So you better make sure that it's something that you want to have added to it. It is just pure cacao, but it does have a texture to it. So it may be something that you may want to use or something that you may want to add. If you are really just wanting to go for chocolate chips, but you do just want to do a healthier version, I use the Enjoy Life chocolate chips that are in my baked goods for the bakery. They do still have sugar in them, but they are gluten-free, dairy-free, and they only have 3 ingredients. So they're a much cleaner version. I almost prefer to go the sugar route than to go a sugar alcohol route because I just feel like people have more of a response. Now, I don't believe sugar is a good addition. So a lot of the things that I try to make them without chocolate chips if I can. I do have a crustless pumpkin pie recipe that we are going to post this week, but this is something that is so simple. I mean, it has ingredients like the egg white protein powder. It has stevia, it has cinnamon, it has vanilla, it has ginger, it has nutmeg, sea salt, a full fat can of the coconut milk, pumpkin puree, and eggs. And then it has a topping that you can use walnuts or pecans that are like cinnamon sugared nuts, but they're made with stevia. So there's a great way to get some crunch on top of it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that crustless pumpkin pie. That's something that you could legitimately eat during the week as an afternoon snack and be getting good quality fat in it and also good quality carbohydrates in it, as well as some protein in it because of the protein powder. These are great shortcuts, great hacks to be able to make something healthier. Don't use the holiday as an excuse to completely ruin your healthy eating. Don't use it as an opportunity to sink and then go into the next holiday even deeper. You can make something taste great and still have it be healthy for you. There's always that argument on balance and moderation, and moderately poisoning yourself is still poisoning yourself. And if you're tired of feeling sick and tired, I can assure you that you have options. We can certainly help you with that. That's what we do at Integrity, but just look for the healthier swap. And I just gave you several ideas in this. God bless you all. We hope you have a very healthy holiday.